Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the course and welcome to a very quick walkthrough and tour of what's involved in the course. I just wanted to kind of show you around a little bit. I know like getting involved in a course is like kind of a blind leap sometimes. And even though I've tried to be really public about building this course and what I've been learning doing it and what I've been learning kind of from early customers, um, I know it still is really helped, and I've gotten to give a few people a sneak peek already. So I've found that that's been really helpful. So I want to kind of throw you into this and give you a quick tour, show you what we're going to get into, and give you enough to take a look at. If you've got any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. So let's take a look at the course. This is Mighty Networks, the platform that I chose, and I chose it because it's very community oriented. This is really kind of like an epic Facebook group that a course happens to live in, rather than a course first and a community second. And you'll kind of see that as we get into it. So this is the table of contents. And you're going to see we have 12 parts. I kind of think of this like three main chunks. So parts 0 through 3 are like the trunk of the tree of learning. Part 4 through 7.5 are the kind of main branches, and everything after that kind of the twigs and sticks and leaves that fill in the rest. So this starts with really building the core of the mental model and covering some of the fundamentals. Um, as well as getting into the frameworks that we're going to use throughout the rest of the course. So this is kind of the core motions. This middle part with 4, 5, 6, 7 is like the meat of each of these types of leverage and a ton of detail. Um, and then past that, we get into some of the nuance of application. And so some of this is going to be selectively relevant to people based on who you are and kind of your approach. But I'll give you a little bit of a closer look at each of this. So the fundamentals here, I start with like the physics of leverage and what the really core of the mental model is, and kind of abstract that into how it applies in different contexts, what it feels like, the positive connotation that we give leverage compared to some of the other definitions, and giving you some examples. And I can record a separate video about some of these because there's some really cool lessons to kind of tease here. Um, the rest of these are really get into worksheets. So showing you how to calculate your aspirational hourly rate is a really, really common question. Um, how to triage specific, we have a worksheet allowing you to triage specific problems and solution sets for to help you find the most leveraged solution, and find which problems are worth solving with leverage and which are not. Um, and then this is really where we build the core metaphor of the course, where we show the mountain of leverage. And so I want to kind of get into this lesson a little bit, to give you more of an idea here. So I built this whole thing around this metaphor to build a mountain of leverage, so that I think of the work that we do as slowly adding levers and extending the levers that we already have. And if we spend most of our time doing that, over time, we really increase our ability to drive impact for our future selves. So if we work on it for a day, next week will be more effective. If we work on it for a week, next month will be more effective. And the compounding reinvestment of increasing effectiveness is really kind of at the heart of leverage, like learning how to do the work that gets more work done, when and where to make those investments, so that over time you can accomplish 10x, 100x, a million X, what you could a few months or a few years ago. So I kind of show you how I build this metaphor and how we start from basic applications of leverage. It's really building, small levers and balancing them all out, and then over time reinvesting in those levers and into advanced applications of leverage. So our mountains get bigger and bigger and bigger across these 4 types. And we can visualize a mountain, but that's kind of tough to work in. So we turn this into like a topographic map, and turn that map into this worksheet so that you can actively work on and visualize your mountain. And so we separate this vertically into um, kind of a chart so that you can go through the different types of leverage and chart what you have actively working for you, what's available, and what's coming in the future. And as we do this kind of a few times at different stages, you'll see what you have available for you. We got this in doc version, we got this in worksheets, and it comes with kind of questions that help you triage through. But this is one of the core kind of motions that we get into and do a few times throughout the course. Let's go maybe look at course, maybe part 6 here. So the first time you fill out this map, and you might kind of get a little bit stuck, and that's to be expected because you don't have all of the meat that comes with studying the branches and getting into each of these kind of lessons about the details and the nuance and everything you have available for you and all of these different types of leverage. So let's look at people leverage as an example of kind of this middle set of lessons. We introduce it, we show examples, we have a memorable metaphor for each of these types, and we go into applications and advanced applications and layering leverage, which is really the study of reinvestment. So where do we start small, and how do we take that next logical step that is never too big of a risk or too intimidating of a leap, but we work slowly from maybe hiring task-based help on Fiverr that's like a 10-minute and $20 downside, all the way up through, okay, I'm actively building a full-time team and salaried W-2 employees to help me support this. But you don't have to make that huge leap, and you don't have to become, an expert manager, visionary leader overnight. These things are iterative, and not just across all the different forms of leverage, but within each form. So, and one of the things we do to help you kind of move through that is to talk to experts. Andrew Wilkinson, if you haven't heard anything from him before, runs a portfolio of companies and has run an agency, and really has been an expert at employing people of all different types to kind of build this incredible business. It's now, at least a part of it is public. It's quite an impressive feat over maybe 10 or 15 years. And he says two of the biggest leaps in effectiveness his career ever took was hiring a personal assistant and hiring his first CEO. And we talk a ton about what his different tactics are and what these examples are, and there's notes and takeaways and stuff. So we have a different kind of expert for each of these lessons. And as we get into past this, so once you get to part 7.5, you kind of have everything you need to go out into the world and like take action, right? Like we intend for this to be a very action-taking course. And so even from the beginning, we're trying to get you to apply leverage. We can't do it for you, but we can definitely give you space and information and tips and support and encouragement to go do that. And all the way up through here, this is like what I expect almost is relevant to almost everybody on some level. Past this is really trying to proactively address specific blockers or challenges or concerns or questions that people are going to have after having finished, up through part 8. So one common thing is we all have psychological challenges or conflicting values or just habits or behaviors, instincts even, that prevent us from doing something sometimes that we psychologically or that we objectively know we want to do. So one for me is like, I tend to be pretty frugal and I'm hesitant to spend money even if I can tell myself it's a good investment. And so this is where the aspirational hourly rate really helps. And knowing that this is an obstacle that I have to work through in order to apply leverage the way I know intellectually is the correct way to do it. Another is self-sufficiency. Like I have a big value around self-sufficiency as far as how I was raised, and tend to have that as almost an instinct and a value that is a little cumbersome when it comes to making good investments in leverage. So I try to list these and collect them as I hear new ones from people. We address some of the downsides and the risks. We get into more mental models here. And you'll see some lessons that are still in progress. I'm always kind of adding to this course. And then this last lesson I really like is the laws of leverage. I really wanted to make this as as tight and concise as possible. And one of the things that I heard a lot from early kind of customers that I talked to was um, how much they wanted to go from, hey, I understand this idea when I read about it, to I want it in my head at all times so that I instinctively make these kind of decisions. And I thought that the laws of leverage would be a good way to do it. So really getting this down into like commandments or guidelines so that you know, if you keep these in front of you all the time, put them on a sticky note, make them your phone background, you know, remind yourself of these lines and these stories as often as you can. And I think you will start to nudge you in towards higher leverage decisions. You know, I tell myself, do the work only I can do all the time. This video right here is a good example of don't repeat yourself, record yourself. So this is kind of how I cap the course off. I think people tend to get really excited about this one. I hope it's a great tool for you. And this is kind of the tour of the course. I should say also that while this is the main material, we also have in a lot of these lessons actually, people are commenting below each one. So, you know, these expand out. And below this is a bunch of comments of people who have already created one small lever and what they did, and you can kind of learn from them. So it's not just, you know, hey, here's some recommendations I make, but it is also here's everyone who has come before you and what they've done. So we're already kind of seeing some great diversity and interesting things that people are adding. And I, you know, this is a community, and this is why I chose this tool so that we could all learn from each other. Because I'm still learning this and have so much more to learn and learn from every, you know, a new student every day. So we have this, and we also have a library of leverage that we are building, collecting this Airtable database. It's going to start small and keep getting bigger. I have a ton of tactical kind of things in there, and study groups as well. So rather than just have like one kind of community that's like, hey, here's 100 people, like good luck. We build very deliberate study groups where we put you in a group of people with similar interests, of like a group of 5 to 10 in a private Slack group, so that you guys can exchange questions or plans or things that are a little more personal or trade secret, or just questions that you don't want to throw out to 150 people. So this is a thing that's in beta that we're building, and just continuing to invest in this. I hope you enjoyed the tour. I hope you're more excited about this even than you started a few minutes ago. If you have any questions, like email or DM me or reply. I'd love to get into more of it, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.